As we navigate the complexities of life, encounters with difficult people are inevitable. Imagine you are Epictetus, who teaches not merely to endure such trials, but to welcome them as opportunities for virtuous growth. How can we develop patience if we are never tested? How can we learn forgiveness if never wronged? In this spirit, this discussion is not just about coping with difficult individuals. It's about transforming these challenges into stepping stones towards personal excellence. Stoicism, with its rich history from the likes of Marcus Aurelius and Seneca, offers profound strategies for maintaining tranquility and perspective in the face of adversity. It teaches us to look beyond the surface irritations of our daily interactions and to see the broader implications of our responses. By understanding our shared human frailties and focusing on what is within our control, we can navigate through life's disturbances with grace and resilience. Stay with us as we explore these timeless principles and discover how to apply them in practical, meaningful ways in your life. Whether you are new to Stoic philosophy or are seeking deeper insights, this journey promises to enhance not only your interactions, but also your overall happiness. Number 1. Personal anecdote. Let me tell you of a time when I was severely tested by the rude behavior of others. I was making my way through the crowded markets of Nicopolis when a young man, lacking any sense of decorum, rudely shoved me out of his path. As I stumbled and nearly fell, the onlookers jeered and laughed at my misfortune. At that moment, I felt the red heat of anger and embarrassment rising within me. How easy it would have been to curse that foolish youth or lash out at those who mocked me. But then I remembered the core tenets of Stoic philosophy. Some things are within our control and some things are not. The rude actions of others are completely beyond our control. As Seneca wrote, "The greatest remedy for anger is delay." I paused and drew a deep breath, letting the anger subside. What good could possibly come from reacting impetuously to such a trifling slight? As Marcus Aurelius counseled, "The universe is change. Our life is what our thoughts make it." Rather than dwell on the negative actions of others, which are beyond my control, I focused my thoughts on what was within my control, my own response. By maintaining my calm in that moment, I displayed inner resilience and fortitude. Is that not a strength worth exemplifying? I ask you, when next someone treats you rudely or scorns you unjustly, will you let their thoughtless conduct diminish your principles and equanimity? Or will you have the wisdom to disregard what you cannot control and instead cultivate the admirable virtues that reside within? Number 2. Quote from Marcus Aurelius. When faced with difficulties in life, be they career setbacks, physical ailments, or challenging relationships, we must resist the temptation to see them as insuperable obstacles. Instead, we should reframe them as opportunities for growth and action, as the great Marcus Aurelius wisely counseled. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. Too often, we allow the perceived rudeness or hostility of another person to frustrate and derail us from our purposes. A coworker undermines us in meetings. A customer berates us for small missteps. A loved one lashes out due to their own pains. In these situations, we have a choice. We can be thrown off balance and mire ourselves in anger and resentment, or we can practice the resilience exemplified by great Stoics. As Seneca wrote, "The less we deserve misfortune, the more calmly we should bear it." When we encounter difficult people, it is a test of our composure and restraint. By maintaining perspective, we promote healthier responses within ourselves. We can view such friction as a catalyst to reflect and respond with empathy and resolve. What roles were you created to play? We were created to be rational beings who shape our reactions, not at the mercy of others' perceived slights. When someone's rude behavior obstructs our path, we can transform that very obstacle into motivation to reinforce our core principles of patience, self-discipline, and compassion. So embrace the difficulties that arise through interaction with challenging people. Allow them to exemplify Stoic ideals through your upstanding conduct. Let those obstacles promote the reasoned actions that elevate you as a person and as a leader. Number 3. Difficult people as opportunities for growth. In this life, there is no skill more essential than the ability to deal calmly and rationally with difficult people. This is your great life practice, your true profession as rational beings. As I have learned, every frustrating person we encounter becomes a teacher if we choose to see them with the eyes of a Stoic. Does a co-worker insist on berating you publicly over small matters? This becomes your opportunity to practice humility, patience, and courteousness in the face of cruelty, to model the very virtues they fail to display. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury." Or perhaps there is a perpetually negative friend whose company you can scarcely tolerate. Here you may learn to restrain your judgment of them by reflecting deeply. In every error we should strengthen ourselves in every way by the aid of philosophy. By maintaining calm reason and perspective, you become impervious to their cynical outlook. In mastering your reaction, you achieve a far greater victory over the situation than any act of confrontation or retaliation could provide. We must remember that all is as thinking makes it so, and you control your thinking. So remove your judgments whenever you wish, and then there is calm, as the sailor rounding the cape finds smooth water and the welcome of a waveless bay. In the words of Marcus Aurelius, how we choose to perceive and process the difficult people in our lives determines whether they become sources of agitation and unhappiness or powerful opportunities to practice the art of reasoned living. I ask you, will you flee from such people, or will you embrace them as your truest instructors? For is there any greater trial of Stoic restraint and wisdom than in the face of hostility, small-mindedness, or provocation from others? Let every such person become your spiritual coach in applying the lofty ideals we rehearse daily. Undergo that arduous training and emerge ennobled. Number 4. 5 rules from the Stoics for handling rude and difficult people. In this life, we inevitably encounter people who behave in hostile, irrational, or rude ways toward us. Their words and actions can instill anger and resentment, and even make us question our own self-worth if we lack fortitude. As Stoics, we must develop a philosophical framework for understanding and diffusing such difficult situations and people. First and foremost, we must train ourselves to give the benefit of the doubt. How many things are performed as a matter of course, which at the same time give no grounds for accusing mankind? Before taking offense, consider that the rude person may be struggling with personal troubles or ignorance you cannot fathom. Secondly, we must accept that rude and inconsiderate people are an inevitable part of life, no more to be perpetually avoided than winter's chill or summer's heat. To expend excessive anger toward them is as fruitless as being enraged at the seasons themselves. This leads to the third rule. The person truly convinced of their own self-worth need not react with hostility. The greatest revenge is to live well. By holding steadfastly to our virtues and ethical principles, we demonstrate our philosophical superiority over those stuck in bitterness and incivility. Next, we must develop a sense of perspective. As Epictetus instructs, everything has 2 handles, one by which it may be borne, another by which it cannot. Don't allow yourself to be consumed by difficult personalities. Minimize their provocations and do not take them too seriously, nor dwell excessively upon them. Finally, realize that even the rudest person plays a role assigned to them by the cosmic nature that surrounds us. Do not take offense, but instead wish them well in transcending that role and finding a more rewarding path through reason and wisdom. In applying these precepts of Stoic philosophy, you neutralize difficult people and situations as disturbances to your equanimity. Their negative words and deeds need not diminish your virtuous living. In fact, they can elevate your practice of it. Number 5. Importance of seeking help when needed. There is a pernicious myth, propagated since ancient times, that a true Stoic is an unfeeling monolith, devoid of human vulnerability or need for support systems. This caricature paints us as indifferent conquerors, solitary islands, drifting through life's turbulence, unmoved and unaffected. But I put this to you. What could be further from the truth? We Stoics understand well that the path of reason and virtue is an arduous personal journey, requiring sober self-examination and a merciless inventory of one's flaws and moral failings. This unblinking look inward can at times provoke bouts of anxiety, sadness, or hopelessness if we lack the proper tools and reinforcement to process our troubled thoughts. Did not Marcus Aurelius himself frequently lament his own shortcomings and struggles for equanimity in the face of life's harsh vicissitudes, such as battering air, a restless hurrying of purposeless people? Even our guiding light could feel unmoored amid society's dizzying irrationality. This is precisely why the judicious Stoic has always sought the wise counsel and support of like-minded peers, to receive reassurance amidst bouts of soul sickness and realign one's perspective. In my own darkest moments of negativity, it was Lucilius who grounded me through his letters, reminding me that virtue is nothing else than right reason. So let us shed this outdated notion of the Stoic as an emotionless island unto themselves. Even in the modern age, you need not suffer in isolation when life's difficulties outpace your reasoning abilities. Just as our ancestors had each other, today's adherents of Stoicism can avail themselves of accessible resources like counseling services, philosophical meetups, and online communities like BetterHelp. For how can one hope to display the virtue of wisdom without regularly reflecting, questioning one's judgments, and seeking the counsel of others further along the path? Cast off the damaging stereotypes of unfeeling conquest, and have the humility to accept aid from those equipped to provide it. Number 6. Developing indifference towards opinions. How much of our inner turmoil, our bouts of anger, anxiety, and unhappiness stems from an excessive preoccupation with the opinions of others? We agonize over how we are perceived, fret about rumors and gossip cast in our wake, and contort ourselves trying to meet the fickle expectations of people who, at their core, lack the wisdom to truly judge us. What a rancid poison this is for the mind! How much time and effort does it take to chase after these things we think we want, so we can hold on to them a little longer before they disintegrate? In our fixation on the evaluations of others, we neglect to judge ourselves against what truly matters, living in accordance with reason, virtue, and our own guiding principles. Let us become indifferent instead to that which should not sway us, the petty grievances, unfounded criticisms, and detractors who cannot progress from conditioned responses to cultivated rationality. There is only one way to tranquility of mind and happiness. Let this be the object of pursuit, to consider ourselves as citizens of the world, and to dismiss with contempt the censures or applause of the multitude. If a fool mocked the skilled sculptor for their creative vision, would the artist agonize over this untrained perception, or merely laugh at the ignorance while pressing on with their craft. We must achieve this same imperturbability to small-minded judgments that hold no merit in truth or wisdom. The self-contained person pays no heed to whispers of approval or disapproval from those unable to grasp the intention behind one's virtuous actions. We focus solely on continually radiating justice, self-control, fortitude, and wisdom from our sphere of control. External opinions cannot shake these pillars any more than wind disturbs the foundations of a house. So let the inconsequential chatter of gossipers and critics wash over you, like the crashing of waves that reach only so far up on the shore. Do not allow your tranquility or sense of purpose to be upset by ignorant voices bereft of substance. March confidently forth, sculpting yourself ever closer to exemplifying the ideals that matter most. Number 7. Setting boundaries and being self-contained. To live as a virtuous and rational being requires cultivating a crucial Stoic discipline, the ability to establish and uphold personal boundaries. Without this skill, we are left vulnerable to the whims of others, tossed about like a rudderless ship on turbulent seas. As Epictetus instructs, make the best use of what is in your power and take the rest as it happens. What falls within our power is the capacity to communicate our standards and enforce reasonable boundaries. To do so is to exemplify the virtues of self-control, good judgment, and self-respect. Too often we allow toxic personalities to infiltrate our lives and violate the sacred space of our equanimity through their rude words and uncouth actions. They are permitted to run roughshod over our values because we lack the courage and maturity to firmly establish boundaries from the outset. The self-contained Stoic demonstrates this courage. They recognize that defending one's personal boundaries is not a sign of discourtesy, but rather an act of high civility and mutual respect. Associate with well-behaved people who follow principles like your own, not the mob. Maintaining this higher association often requires the strength to limit or remove negative influences. Does a friend or acquaintance continually mock the philosophical principles you hold dear? It is a reasonable boundary to politely curtail their presence until they can engage respectfully. Is a work colleague incessantly rude and obstructive despite your attempts at ethical persuasion? You are permitted to limit dealings with them to only what is strictly required. This is the way of the self-disciplined person, surrounding themselves with positive, uplifting circles that reinforce virtue rather than dragging one down into the petty morass of insult and conflict. Calmly establish and defend your personal boundaries through open communication of expected norms, and have the fortitude to minimize toxic influences until they can realign. Number 8. Meditating on interconnectedness. In the contemplative practice of Stoicism, we often meditate on the profound interconnectedness of all things. This reflection is not merely an exercise in philosophical abstraction, but a practical tool for living a life aligned with virtue and wisdom. Imagine yourself as Marcus Aurelius, sitting under the vast expanse of the Roman sky, penning thoughts in your journal. You might write, "All things are interwoven, and the bond is sacred. Hardly anything is alien to anything else, for they have been arranged together in their places and together make the same ordered universe." In this view, each individual is part of a larger whole, connected through a shared human nature and a common fate. How then should we respond when faced with rudeness or hostility? The Stoic response is rooted in a deep understanding of human frailty and the limitations of individual perspectives. When others act rudely, they are often acting out of ignorance of what is good or evil, misled by their misconceptions about what is truly valuable in life. Recognizing our shared nature, we can choose to respond not with irritation or anger, but with empathy and patience. By doing so, we not only maintain our own tranquility, but potentially guide others towards virtue. Furthermore, reflecting on interconnectedness helps us see that our actions, however small, have ripples that extend through the fabric of the universe. Each act of kindness or patience, therefore, is not just about altering our immediate situation, but about nurturing the broader network of human interactions. We are, in a very real sense, custodians of a segment of the universe's well-being. What harm is there in responding with humanity to those who err? In embracing this interconnectedness, we fulfill our role not only as rational beings, but as integral parts of a larger communal human endeavor. This perspective is essential for anyone seeking to live a meaningful and happier life, encouraging us not just to look inward, but to engage with the world in a manner that enhances our collective existence. As we conclude our exploration of Stoic wisdom for dealing with difficult people, let us reflect on the enduring words of Marcus Aurelius. What is not good for the hive is not good for the bee. Just as each action contributes to the well-being or detriment of the whole, so too do our responses to adversity shape the fabric of our lives. Are we contributing to harmony or to discord? This question is pivotal as we strive to apply Stoic principles in our interactions. I encourage you to delve deeper into the Stoic path by subscribing to the daily Stoic email, where wisdom awaits to guide your days with serenity and strength. Let these insights not only dwell in your mind, but also manifest in your actions and interactions. Please take a moment to like, share, and comment on this video. Sharing your experiences and insights can profoundly impact others, just as their responses can enrich your own journey. As we continue to support each other in our collective pursuit of wisdom, remember that every step taken in awareness and virtue brings us closer to the tranquil life that Stoicism promises.